Welcome to another Tori Harris Meetup session, where a prime aim today and prime focus today will be on DevOps in the hybrid integration landscape. So we would be taking you through this topic in details today. We would also like to cover our journey with implementing DevOps in the integration projects that we've been working across our clients wherever possible, and also our learnings towards the same. I'm Mika Kanya. I'm a senior architect working with Tori Harris, hands-on technologist, where my experience has been ranging from your solution designing, development, and delivery of integration-based solutions using multiple different technologies, microservices, their COTS products, and gateways. I focus more onto the automation, innovation, migration, and transformation space, and currently also looking at the DevOps implementation for a couple of clients. I'm working as a product owner for one of our clients, helping them to implement DevOps across their space. I've got with me today Manish. Hi, Manish.
Hi everyone, this is Manish. I work as an integration architect for Tori Harris. My prime area focus are API microservices, automation, and improving developer experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much. In this sessions, the key takeaways for you today would be by the end of the session, you would be able to understand about the DevOps process enhancements. How can we improve our current DevOps processes? The impact and importance of DevOps in the integration space, and we'll talk more about the hybrid integration platform in details in this session. The core aspects of DevOps tool chains and pipeline structures, and some of the latest trends that are there in the DevOps market, which has been proving helpful for us overall. So most of the implementations that we've seen in the DevOps space, generally, they stop at automating their CI/CD processes, basically, or automating the build and the deployment processes, which are listed here under the first bracket, which includes generally the continuous planning. They try to move the agile way, the collaborative and development, continuous build process, testing, and release and deployment. But the actual benefit of DevOps can be reaped from using more and improving continuously. Yeah, like implementing these enhancements that I've put on the right side, which includes continuous security, monitoring, as well as feedback optimization solution. Now, continuous security here helps to eliminate the vulnerabilities from your application earlier in the cycle before it actually reaches the production or the live space. Then you've got delivery automation across for removing silos between development and the IT operations teams and enabling a continuous delivery of change. There's a thought process shift, a shift mechanism that has to be put in for adopting the DevOps culture. Then there's application monitoring for quickly detecting and addressing the software application issues in the test environment and also in the production environment as soon as an issue has occurred. And it is always important to have a continuous feedback and optimization process in your cycle at all stages. Now, here we are more talking about the improvements and the continuous culture in place. In the next slide, now we would be from continuous improvement culture. Now we would get that. This slide would help you understand how we can implement these processes into our DevOps pipeline and enhance our experience into the DevOps space. Organizations that practice DevOps successfully, they tend to adopt the following processes, the technologies, and to enhance their DevOps lifecycle. The automation testing, the first one here, it's about integrating the testing into your DevOps cycle, be it your unit testing, regression testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing. Wherever it's possible, we should integrate the testing into the DevOps cycle. Enabling quality gates. like Sonar Scan, Joker, Nexus IQs to catch vulnerabilities and improve your code quality issues, basically to detect the code quality issues early in the cycle. And these have been proved quite helpful for catching hold of issues, basic issues into your code quality early in the cycle again. Now, strengthen the feedback loop by integrating the failures, rollback logics, and create tickets for failures wherever possible. So all of your DevOps tools that are available in today's market, be it your pipeline tools like Jenkins, your GitLab runners, uh, and your AWS pipelines and all, they have in-house capabilities of integrating with ticketing tools like, say, ServiceNow. And these integrations can really help us enhance the pipelines further. Start with design thinking. So we must start thinking from an MVP, minimum viable product perspective from the design itself in order to be more agile, to move towards agile and enhance our DevOps flavor more. Always look for improvements and enhancements and automations wherever possible in terms of all areas that you're working in. So your pipeline should not just stop at sending your main build to a particular set of environments, but it should also look at automating the configuration management process, the patching process, and others as well. But never lose sight of the fact that the aim of agile development uh, with scripting, pipelines, and code responsibilities, that's the major component. Yeah, that's the major aim that we have been building your pipelines for. Next, we move to the prime stages and the tool use and implementation. We must choose carefully and implement intelligently. Selecting and implementing initial delivery automation tools, practices, and scripts is all about the best way to integrate CI/CD into the development lifecycle. From Storyhill solution as well, there are some useful tools that can reduce time, effort, like we've got Diplomatic, we've got Automaton, Auto Subs I've highlighted here in different areas, which leverage APIs and make it a faster way to integrate. And there are tools like Ansible, Terraforms, and others that can be used to speed up development of infrastructure as a code. It can reduce governance cost as well, ensuring development is less error prone and more repeatable, right? So these are certain things that we can do include these tools that can be included in our pipeline process to enhance the flavor of DevOps code. Here, this is a sample pipeline that depicts a pipeline journey, a delivery process, a DevOps pipeline for one of our integration projects, and it uses the best in industry tools for each stage. At Orialis, we believe that automation is an integral part of the design and development process and applicable at all stages of software lifecycle. Now, these are some automation tools extensively used by us, and we are constantly on the lookout for better way to automate. So from your service analysis phase, where you can use tools as your Jira and Confluence on to what needs to go to be picked up, what change needs to be picked up to your service monitoring and live support, wherein you can integrate with strong tools like Splunk and ELK Stack, and have a closed loop in your entire pipeline to give you a more better view of the deployment and take corrective actions wherever it's required. Basic around the DevOps and how we can enhance the flavor of our DevOps. Let's now get into a deeper understanding of some of the latest trends in DevOps and their advantages. The first one here that I've picked up is DevSecOps. Now, DevSecOps stands for Development, Security, and Operations. It is an approach to culture, automation, and platform design that integrates security as a shared responsibility through the entire IT lifecycle. Everyone is accountable for security when it comes to DevSecOps, where DevOps focuses more on CI, CD, and on resolving the bottlenecks for waiting in the development to deployment process. DevSecOps include your CI, CD, CT, and CM, along with code quality and vulnerability checks in order to avoid and monitor issues that may occur. It also comes handy with the continuous feedback, what I mentioned earlier in my slides, where your proper alerts can be put in place to catch the security related bugs, and it can be well integrated with your web pipelines to find a continuous improved process of your delivery. This slide is a sample DevOps pipeline depicting some of the key tools that can be used, like Veracode. So one of our UK-based customers, we've used Veracode for finding your security-related bugs and integrating the security tool, because tools like Veracode provides API and they enable APIs which can be easily integrated with your DevOps pipelines, and there can be corresponding tickets. So in our pipeline, what we did was we filtered the code using Veracode for the security vulnerabilities, and then correspondingly created tickets into Jira for the next step of actions that have to be taken. And based on the security vulnerabilities, priorities, and severities, we were taking informed decision whether it has to be moved further or it has to be rolled back or not to be deployed, and all those decisions. So this is what helps in adding your feedback loops into the DevOps cycle. Here are some of the advantages of the DevSecOps implementation and for including security as part of your pipeline. It definitely increases its success rate, deployment success rates, because all the issues are actually thought of earlier in the cycle. Better quality of the deliverables is another very big advantage that comes with. It reduces the mean time in resolving the issues, and also reduces the number of open security defects. And overall, this would improve the productivity, efficiency, and move towards the agile way of working. Next trend that I would talk about is AI-driven ops. This is also one of the key trends that are there in the DevOps industry now. AI is artificial intelligence and machine learning help improve the performance of the DevOps team by automating repetitive tasks and eliminating inefficiencies across the SDLC lifecycle. AI is expected to bring significant changes to the DevOps ecosystem through streamlining and speeding up every phase of the development lifecycle, primarily through automation. This opens up a category of tools called AI ops, which leverage AI and machine learning to detect patterns in your system failures, attacks, service response, and also many other metrics that are available. Automation reduces and improves the need of human intervention in the process, from code changes to development, and greatly relieving the DevOps team burden through mechanisms such as closed loops. AI ops can be helpful in all stages, be testing, it can be helpful in your monitoring, your service health checks, and auto bug detections, and to name a few. Yeah, I've listed some of the use cases here. Like for example, the tools like Dynatrace can be easily used. Dynatrace is a monitoring solution which comes with predefined algorithms, and these can be easily integrated with the pipelines wherever possible, of course, to look into and have a predictive analysis into the picture and to take corrective actions accordingly. Slide here depicts one of our case studies where we used AI ops for failure prediction for one of our UK telco clients. Here, AI and ML was used in collaboration with DevOps for prediction and action accordingly between the channels and the backend system data. Move on next to DevOps and hybrid cloud integration platform, and now hand it over to Manish for taking us through in specifics of the integration world and details. Manish.
Thanks, Megha. Thank you. So As we all know, integration is the critical to any digital transformation which any enterprise over wants to do. So what basically, as Gardner predicted that around 2020, 50% of the work which will account to in building a digital platform would be of integration. And here with the advent of cloud and everyone wanting to move to the cloud, it has become more and more important to have a strong and the robust integration layer. So for any digital transformation to succeed at any layer, it is very important to understand the cloud, and not only the cloud but the cloud computing concepts. But that is a skill which is not fairly handy, and where which integration plays even a bigger role in today's world. So here there is a new area in integration which has taken the forefront, which is hybrid integration platform. The reason for that is when the cloud came, many of us wanted to move to the cloud as quickly as possible, and we started moving to the cloud our one application by one. But we soon everyone realized that moving the cloud is not that easy. It might be regulatory compliances, it might be security compliances, and at many cases it was just cost. Whether the capex invested in the on-prem systems would be gone west as well if we move everything into cloud. So, but at the same time, we all wanted to reap the benefits of cloud with the scalability, with the availability it provides us, right? So with this keeping in mind, hybrid integration platform helps us a lot. Hybrid integration platform, as the name suggests, is a combination of the on-prem plus the private and the public cloud. And when I say cloud, it could be a multiple cloud across multiple availability zones, right? So hybrid integration platforms make it seamless for any clients or any platform which consumes our APIs or services to and hides the fact from where these APIs are really being served from, and that is completely undertaken by the platform itself. So we have listed, if you see in the right hand side, I don't want to go through each one of them. So what we have listed is what were the legacy blocks and what are the possible solutions which we can migrate them to for on in a modern and hybrid integration landscape. So I will pick few of the easy. So earlier we used to have a messaging platform. Now we can do it through serverless computing. We can do it as async APIs. We used to have XML and SOA gateways, which could be done. Now we moved into that same problem statements can be solved using API management tools, developer portals, edge servers. And there are a lot for each of the problem statement which we had used earlier. We had now have multiple options which can solve these problems in a cloud native way. So this is similarly, I will take one more. Like for example, we used to have traditional web services, which were where we used to expose our soap-based visuals. Currently, that could be solved. That problem statement much better is solved by microservices, Swagger specifications, service mesh, GraphQL APIs, and a combination of all this and choosing the right way would help us in creating an hybrid integration platform. So I will quickly take you through a reference architecture of an hybrid integration platform which we had implemented. And then this is a very rudimentary view of, I wanted to keep it simple. So rudimentary view of what is implemented. So if you see here, basically there are multiple channels which consume their services from the data layer and the backend layer through API gateway. Now API gateway in this particular implementation, the way we had implemented is the API gateway was a single point of entry for any of the services coming in, and that was coupled with service mesh, which will automatically discover the APIs. So what we had done is we had the on-prem services along with the extension of the services deployed on AWS EKS. So what basically used to happen, we used to monitor our on-prem infrastructure, and as there would be a requirement of scalability, the services would be auto deployed and auto deployed on the EKS cluster, which was a Fargate cluster. So you don't pay basically for anything which is not running over there. So it was Fargate cluster where the services would be automatically deployed, and our service mesh would discover that and give that information to API gateway. So whenever the traffic would be more, the services will be the traffic would be catered from the cloud services, but whenever the services were less, the traffic was less, would be catered from the on-prem implementation. So this was one of the use cases which we solved using hybrid integration platform. The others problem statement which we solved was basically we had this API gateway also on-prem and cloud services. So we had monetization of our APIs, and whenever the external developers would be trying to connect to our APIs, they would be the request for them would be catered by the on-prem the cloud API gateway, which would send the request into the cloud services, cloud native services, while the on-prem would be catered by the Kubernetes services deployed on the on-prem Kubernetes clusters. So this is how, and we used a set of our DevOps principles, and in here the very important part of it was that not even from the client perspective, but from the development and the operational perspective, all this auto scaling into the cloud and from the on-prem looks seamless, and the same, and the infrastructure would be monitored alike, and any changes which would be deployed on-prem should be or in cloud would be seamlessly going to the other side without any issue of the versioning or anything as such, so that the all our applications, all the services are alike across irrespective of where it is they are deployed. So this is the one of the use cases we solved. And this is a reference architecture of for the same. Yeah. So I just wanted to what we when we started with it. So these are the 5 principles which we felt was helped us in achieving it. We established the vision where we want to achieve, because many a times what happens is when we start off with the DevSecOps journey in any of the systems, not only integration, we tend to try at a point there always comes a point where you have to take the strong decision of no, I want to go this way, because the other way seems very simple and easier to implement. So we had established our vision, and we were very rigid that we will achieve that, because we didn't want to get us distracted by the easy. We wanted to have a long-term view of how we would manage things once we will not have 1, 2, or 3 APIs, but thousands of APIs on this platform. Again, it is very important for us was, even though the DevSecOps talks about like a lot of collaboration between teams, we have our defined roles and responsibilities for each individual, so that it becomes seamless. So the DevOps culture could be adopted in the right way. DevOps culture, many a times I hear that people talk about developer having access into production, directly deploying into production. That's what DevOps talks about. DevOps doesn't talk about that. It talks about how development and operations can collaborate and work together to have a seamless platform, and from everything from code to infrastructure could be written as a code itself, and you can replicate it at wish. So we took it from the start itself. We always take a very big focus on formalizing the roles and responsibilities, and the same focus is also on the standards and best practices. This evolves over time. We always learn continuously. So this is something is a running document for us. And we always try to do, even in retrospective, go and apply these best practices once we have discovered them to the services or the practices which are already done. So this is something which we do. And once these are identified, we established our governance process. Now, what this governance process entails is basically from everything, starting from design to development to testing to production. We have our set standards. We scan everything. We try to automate each and every part of the process, and we put a major focus on developer improving the developer experience. Because what we, for example, while we were developing the services, we found a lot of work is taken up by by the developers while creating just the boilerplate code, which could be automated in a very easy way. So we came up with a tool which would basically create everything by just the inputs on the UI. We found out that a lot of APIs or services which we built were repetitive. In their patterns, the services would change, the input and output would change, but the integration pattern or which they use would be same. So we came up with a solution where you can just put in the integration pattern. It generates your boilerplate code of the APIs, microservices, and everything, where you can just go and then you can just write your business logic in. So and we put all this in within. So because the best way to achieve what we feel in a governance process is automation, because then it doesn't give you a leeway of moving away from that. And finally, the measurement criteria. We define our measurement criteria of how we will measure not only the KPIs, but also our maturity. And we have a scale out of 100, like we rate every quarter against us within feedback. And we see that we are continuously improving. And we have points scored for each one, and where we are on each of the patterns, we reassess this measurement criteria as well every quarter, because once we have achieved that, we try to add to the next level, and then we find out our own score, which we say that okay, this is something which we have achieved and we have bettered upon. Yeah, this is our way of from a process perspective, how we try to implement our governance, DevOps governance for integration. So I am sorry, maybe the fonts are very small for this, but I will try to read through few of them, and just to give you an idea of how it works. So this slide basically talks about what are the different stages which we have to, or different aspects which we have to look at while implementing the DevOps culture within our engagement or the project, right? So first of all, we have to define the DevOps architecture and strategy. And what does it mean is that we have to understand the concepts. We have to talk about the infrastructure. The solution architecture should be aligned to it. The team should be aligned to it, and the culture should be adopted by each and every member of the team. And we have our tools, our practices in place to do that. So we start with our assessment questionnaire, which basically judges on where we are and set goals, and using which we can create our roadmap and set goals. And we then have we have our reference implementations, because that helps a lot in showing early hand where what it would look like to at the end of our journey. So that gives you an MVP feel before even starting the whole process. Then the CI/CD pipeline, that this has become a de facto norm for any project now, is implemented across. This brings in a lot of benefits in not only saving of time, but implementing the governance practices, automating the testing, checking the building in the security from right on from the starting, and even doing the reviews itself. So for example, I will just take you through one of the example. What we felt was, when we're doing a coding, we used to have a manual review process, right? And someone would raise a merge request, and the merge request would go to a reviewer. He would review the code, and when he would review the code, he would see the business logic, he would see how the code was implemented, and then he would approve, and then the pipeline would start and deploy, right? What we found out over the period of time is that a lot of time the review comments which come along are not about the business logic, but the code itself, static code analysis itself. So what we brought it in practice was, whenever a merge request was raised, first it was used to go for a static code analysis, security analysis, and everything. and unit testing, coverage, whatever we could see the code from, right? And we used to do a security analysis of the image would be created by the code, but not upload it anywhere. So with that, if we used to commit, we had a security score out of this, and along with that in code quality score. And if the code quality score and the security score doesn't satisfy, the merge request would be rejected right away, and it would not even be notified to the reviewer, and it will go back. And once everything is fixed, only then the merge request would be notified to the reviewer, and then reviewer can approve the request. With that, what we achieved was, it saved a lot of time of doing the repetitive analysis of this code. One, the second is our one of the things which we saw was improving was the number of errors got reduced a lot, functional errors, because now the reviewer had a lot of time in seeing the business logic itself rather than seeing something which could be automated, checking on something which could be automated very easily. So we wrote a lot of custom rules as well in Sonar Cube and all to achieve this. So this is one of the areas where you can intelligently see like which how you can improve your CI/CD pipeline, but not just take the usual pipeline of build, test, deploy, move to the next environment, but intelligently see how it could benefit your entire process. And similarly, I talked already about the security validation and DevSecOps practices. So we would have our code library checking of the licenses, open source licenses checking of the of practices of containerization of Docker. Checking of the best practices against the Kubernetes deployment. We used some standard tools for that, and we also had some written of our custom rules which we implemented as best practices and governance, as I explained earlier. We even embedded that in the automation bit, and then the fourth slide talks about exactly about that all our practices and best practices and the governance standards were not only documented but made the part of a development of an service lifecycle and development lifecycle itself, so that it would be in the mind of not only the developers but everyone involved in the process, so that it could not be skipped. And finally, it all boils down to people skills, where everyone has to adopt to this strategy of DevOps, and we have our experts and trainers at start of the each engagement to take us through that. It is kind of a revision. Even I do my DevOps training every few days when an engagement starts, so that we are all refreshed and basically the most important thing is with lot of materials nowadays around the DevOps, DevSecOps, and everything. It basically everyone might have a different understanding of it. So we kind of try to bring everyone in the on the same page. Yeah. So finally, I just wanted to leave you with the 6 pillars, basically which are the most important thing, while which we have to keep in mind as our end goal on achieving any of the services which we want to write or deploy. So one is deployability. We all know about what it means. Basically, each version could be released very easily. There should be a shorter build cycle and deploy cycle. Find reliability. Only one set of only one part of the part of the your entire service infrastructure should be broken. If any service is broken, not it should not impact anything outside. Availability, the services should be available, highly available. It Scalability is now a given requirement for everything. So basically, you should make sure that whatever practices you do, however you write your services, how you package it, makes them scalable. It could be easily scalable across. Then finally, they could be easily modifiable and manageable. So we use agile methodology for our development and all the practices around that. So these are the 6 pillars which I wanted to highlight, which basically would help as a guardrails for everyone to make sure that our whatever we build adheres to each one of them.